All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News. Where everything is connected. I can't really hear. Can you hear me? Hello? I'm assuming y'all can hear me. Check. Okay. I have a lot of layers on my head, so I don't think I can hear the headphones very well. Man, I'm okay, you can hear me good. Woo! Pardon me if my face contorts while I do the show. I'm making hot sauce right behind me. And it is spicy. I'm just in close proximity of the fumes. And it is cold. It's in the 40s in LA. And I have all the doors and windows closed because it is cold. It is cold. It says that it's 48, but the feels like is 40. So it feels colder than it actually is. At least that's what they're telling me. It's chilly. Sound in Greenland? Okay. I know. Two other people that are used to 5 degrees or many degrees below. Holy snikes. This hot sauce is really spicy. It's just going right up my nose. Okay. But it's going to be good. It's going to be tasty. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Thanks to anybody who came and checked out the loops on Tuesday. Thanks. Well, thanks for listening. Thank you, Kate, for the contribution on the loop. For the loop show on Tuesday. I appreciate you. Thank you. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't get a chance to thank her afterwards. All U.S. measurements are freaking Franken weirdness. Yes. Okay, we're live on Odyssey. We're live on Substack. We're live on YouTube. And there's a lot going on. Quick plug for my music Patreon, Kevin Sandbloom, the #1 at Patreon. If you want to go over and check out what I'm doing musically, follow me, support me, whatever. Okay. Big news today is that Prince Andrew has been arrested. Which for some people, maybe some people think that this is hopeful, but mainly I think this is infuriating because nobody here has been arrested. Nobody is even, I mean, some people have been let go, I've heard. I've heard that some people have been fired from their positions. Over the Epstein files. My bad, people. Sorry. Probably not the greatest time to make hot sauce, but whatever. I don't have a lot of time, period, so I have to do things when I can. Yeah, what I have heard that some a top lawyer at Goldman Sachs was laid off, CEO of Dubai's largest port, a former president of Harvard University, a former U.S. president. Oh, well, no, that's not former U.S. president. He didn't have any. Anyways, it seems like they're trying to bring some people to consequence in other countries. But it doesn't seem like any of that is happening here as far as people that are clearly, obviously guilty and named and connected. I mean, I don't know if we can go as far as to say guilty, but like, the implications of their connections and, the allegations and the things that have come out should at least be grounds for dismissal and, or, if not arrest, at least some serious hard looks. Yeah, seeing Prince Andrew arrested was surprising on some levels. He's a pretty big fish. Is anything going to happen to him? I mean, at one time Jeffrey Epstein was arrested at one time, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail, a cushy jail, but she's in jail. Will anyone really face any consequences from this other than maybe being let go? And then, like rich people being let go of their jobs is doesn't doesn't prove anything to me, because they'll probably be hired back sometime later, right? They're probably going to get some kind of severance, or they're probably, it's going to be a very golden parachute for them, very cushy fall for them, because they might be fired, but maybe they'll be rehired somewhere else. And that's usually how it goes. But let's look at this. Prince Andrew arrested over a suspected misconduct. Suspected. So it just took some suspicion of misconduct to arrest him, which I think is all that it takes, should take for Trump. for Bill Gates, for Noam Chomsky, for all kinds of people, uh, um, Howard Lutnick, Lex Wexner, etc. I mean, if you're not wondering what's going on, like what the hell is going on, I think you're in the minority. I think most people are like, we have these files and they have some pretty rotten, ugly stuff in them. Is there no fallout? And people are still just, I mean, there's some hearings going on in Congress, but again, there's lots of allegations, lots of things coming out, but not a lot of, you're lying under oath. Okay, what's the consequence for that? Nothing. Okay, well, don't you accuse me of anything. Anyways, have a nice day. Indeed, Caleb. Former Prince Andrew, now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, was arrested Thursday for suspected misconduct in public office after revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein files. King Charles III's youngest brother was arrested on his 66th birthday, about 2 weeks after an anti-royal organization called for police to investigate documents indicating that Andrew shared confidential government information with the late American sex offender when the royal worked as a British trade envoy. The Thames Valley Police Force confirmed just over a week ago that it was assessing claims against Mountbatten Windsor that emerged in the latest release of Epstein files by the U.S. Justice Department to determine whether a formal investigation was warranted. They confirmed, as part of the investigation we have today, arrested him. There's evidence, and I'm going to place it squarely. What chilies am I using? I'm using some chilies that Bella sent me. Bella sent me like so many, like just a nice package of chilies that I have canned, or I've got them soaking in vinegar, basically. And I've got so many chilies. I've gone through about half of them, but pretty much like a year's supply of chili. So I'm going to be making hot sauce. The chilies are habaneros right now. Habanero chilies, and I think a jalapenos in there too. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, why isn't Trump being arrested? Why isn't Howard Lutnick being arrested? Why isn't, what's going on? Here's Ted Lieu in lieu of his arrest. Ted Lieu, full Epstein files show Trump R-ing children. But we've already seen evidence that Trump has been doing, there's already evidence in the files that Trump is accused of some very, very horrible stuff. Really, really, what has already come out is pretty horrible. And maybe this is what he's referring to. Direct allegations. Congressman Ted Lieu has officially broken the silence, claiming that the unredacted Epstein files contain graphic evidence of Donald Trump engaging in the SA of minors. Lieu suggests that this is the dark secret the administration is desperately trying to bury. It's not very buried. It's pretty out there. Like pretty much everybody has seen this, which is why everybody's standing around going, what the F is going, where is the arrest warrant? It doesn't take Congress to arrest Trump. It does not take, it takes somebody issuing an arrest warrant. It might take a military, some military personnel, a general, an admiral, somebody making a decision like, no, today's the day, you're going to go. But it does just take a judge signing a warrant for his arrest. It doesn't take anything more than that. So, where's the pressure? Where are people saying, like, let's go, let's go, let's go? I know he's just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of people are saying that this Epstein file revelations or release is all about getting rid of, like, cleaning house, getting rid of dead weight, getting rid of maybe people who aren't useful to the super elite anymore. I don't know. This isn't just politics anymore. It's a direct accusation of the highest criminal order that should shatter the foundations of the White House. It should shatter the foundations of the White House. Absolutely.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations. And I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that.
How many people are guilty of that in these emails, shown to be guilty of that? People flying to the island, people accepting invitations, people going to partake. Elon Musk. Hey, when's the wildest party? Elon Musk, he's implicated. Why isn't he arrested? Elon Musk should be absolutely arrested on suspicion of engaging in supporting, all of these things that are going on here.
That wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to a minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
I mean, yeah. In the meantime, Trump is, in the meantime, while Trump should be under investigation and or in jail, as with everybody in his administration who are now accessories to a crime. Bondi, Patel, all these people are accessories to crime. So maybe you could say the whole Republican Party. I don't know. Maybe you can say anybody who sought to keep these files hidden should be accessories to a crime. Meanwhile, Trump is continuing to do damage, possibly start a war, possibly start several wars. He's already abducted the president of another country and is threatening several other countries with the same with some kind of treatment, same kind of treatment. The Board of Peace, which is supposedly overseeing the Gaza transition, convened, whatever this abomination is. Aaron Day says the Board of Peace is meeting, which of course means war is imminent. Which a lot of people don't doubt. Hold on one second. Where's the rest of my... In this meeting, Trump announced that the United States will be contributing $10 billion to his Board of Peace. The U.S. is contributing $10 billion. Thanks. I contribute $10 billion to myself. Thanks. $10 billion contribution to a board that Trump chairs without congressional appropriation or authorization. It's a giant slush fund. Full stop. Excuse me. Oh, it's spicy in here. On top of that, Trump just declared glyphosate-based herbicides are a cornerstone of the nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy. Holy freaking crap. What's up, people of Substack? I see you. Gene says Trump's not being arrested because they no doubt figure he's the only one dumb enough to attack Iran for them. And yeah. Why are Americans okay with the fact that what's been released unredacted is but a very small... I mean, I don't know that they are okay with it. I just don't know. I don't see what's, what's actually happening. There seem to be some kind of movements in Congress or around Congress, like saying, oh my God, what? Maybe we should do something. Trump just declared glyphosate-based herbicides a cornerstone of nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy. And he's declaring a glyphosate weed killer to be a federally protected critical resource. Wow. This thing that should actually be illegal to use, the thing that actually is illegal to use in other countries, banned in most of the countries of the world, is being declared a critical to infrastructure. He is now pushing the mass poisoning of American food crops and groceries with cancer-causing deadly weed killer chemicals that we sprayed all over food crops. Trump just declared chemical warfare on the American people. It is freaking insane. Not just putting a stamp of approval, but declaring it a national. This is right up there with I don't know, on the level of like, this is actually economic and bioterrorism on some level. But if you make it, relevant to national security, it means that anybody who's speaking out against this or, promoting banning it or awareness around it or telling people never to use it or be anywhere near it or avoid all, could be deemed, economic terrorism on some level, or right. He's declaring people who want healthy food as against the national interests of the country. You see what I'm saying? There's like kind of this is a pathway to a legal distinction for people who might want to just eat healthy food and raise awareness around not having this stuff in their food, which is fucking insane. Sorry, pardon my French. Healthy food destroys the hospital industry. Indeed. I mean, there's been kind of a silent war against holistic health practitioners for a long time, for decades. People warning against Western medicine, railing against Western medicine, suggesting that you can cure yourself naturally with a healthy diet. These people have been deemed, by the state, by the corporate state, as enemies of enemies of their big bags. That is wild. What else is the Trump administration doing? The EPA plans to loosen mercury rules for coal plants this week. Jesse Jenkins asked, what's next? Putting lead back in gasoline? They're probably considering it. They're going to put lead back in gasoline and take the vote away from women on the same week. Some shenanigans like that. I don't know what they're doing. Not only that, this has been flying somewhat under the radar. Somewhat. The SAVE Act. They're really pushing to pass the SAVE Act, which would require a national ID, mandate a photo ID for voting. So it's been passed in Congress, I believe, and it's going to the Senate. The bill now faces the Senate, where it requires 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. Democrats have condemned the bill as voter suppression effort, calling it Jim Crow 2.0. That's why they're doing it. I think they're trying to hold on through the midterms and, gerrymander their way into winning the midterms in whatever way they can, by passing the SAVE Act, by having ICE at voting stations in Democratic cities. Meanwhile, in the Strait of Hormuz, excuse me, Russia, Iran, and China send ships for joint drills. So there's a lot of saber rattling still around Iran, Israel, and the area. Iran closes key Strait of Hormuz shipping route after the Ayatollah threatens to sink U.S. warships. This is from yesterday. Get off of my screen, sucker. I don't want to see your eyes. Iran temporarily shut part of the key Strait of Hormuz as tensions with the U.S. continue to mount. Tuesday's move is the first time the Middle Eastern waterway has been closed since the 1980s. Came as Iran's Ayatollah issued fresh threats against the United States, one of the world's most strategically important routes. Around 20% of oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz between Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. State media announced it would be partially shut for several hours due to security precautions as the Revolutionary Guard carried out military drills. They have been talking, though, despite publicly committing to ongoing discussions on a deal. Both sides have taken escalatory action in recent days. The U.S. positioned the world's largest warship, the USS Gerald R. Ford, in the Middle East to join an earlier aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, that had moved to the region last month. The Ayatollah responded by threatening to sink the carriers. Awesome. This is good news. And by good news, I mean terrible news. This is from today. Russian, Chinese, Iran warships conduct surprise Hormuz Strait exercises amid massive U.S. military buildup. This is bad, 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 guys. They have deployed naval vessels for joint exercises in the strategic Strait of Hormuz region under the Maritime Security Belt 2026 framework. Global Surveillance, a geopolitical think tank, described the move as a surprise. Sorry, guys are not seeing this. It's fairly scary, the implications for, some international something to pop off, but maybe this show by China and Russia are keeping everything in check. Who knows? You don't think Trump has the balls to do it? I don't know that he does. So it actually, as scary as it sounds, it might be a good thing that Russia and China are there to just, keep the U.S. from, I don't know, possibly doing some false flag business, which we are famous for. We excel at false flags. It's one place where we're really, still number one, false flags. Serenity says he's going to do it. The chosen demand so. The chosen demand so. A lot of people are predicting this. Give me 1 second, guys, okay? Give me a sec. My apologies. Iranians are going to do some evil doing here and provoke outrage, yada yada. Yeah, that would not surprise me. Something to encourage some kind of action to happen there. It seems like they really want it to happen. I'm seeing a lot of people suggesting that this is going to pop off in March or something. I don't know. I hope that's not true. I'm really not, It seems like they've been threatening it for a long time. That doesn't mean that, it's not going to happen eventually. I don't know. Let's see. National defense is now the Hannibal directive. This is on Odyssey. Excuse me. Golly. My apologies. Meanwhile, in China, the humanoid robots have the capability to fire assault rifles. Terrifying. Of course they do. This was always the goal. And they're not very, they're not very hush hush about it. They tried to promote all this robot technology as very helpful, and you're just going to have a friendly robot in your home. No, actually, you're going to have a robot military coming, marching down your street to keep you in your house. As I said, as I have said for a long time, they're building these things like gangbusters somewhere, and they're not gonna roll them out slowly. It's gonna be one day you wake up and there's freaking 10 robots at the end of your block. Like, that's how they're gonna do it. They're just gonna pop them out there and go bang. Ha. Now what? No processing for you. Stay in your house. Which is, I fear what is going to happen. All right. The Epstein files have emails showing Israeli consulate installed and maintained the equipment inside Epstein's New York apartment. It directly ties Israel to the blackmail of Americans. Well, no, duh. Just confirming what we already knew. This is interesting. Totally normal email sent to Ghislaine Maxwell a week after 9/11. Where is the real pilot? It asks. Whoa. Okay. Because you know who was involved in 9/11. You know who set up 9/11. Same people that set up JFK's and same people that set up, kind of everything. What else? There's evidence that, there's evidence in these emails that Bill Gates is discussing pandemics with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, are you saying the pandemic was orchestrated? Duh. I don't really want to be mean to the people that, I don't want to be too mean, but if you think that COVID was actually a thing, I'm not saying they didn't develop a super flu to make you think that, you were it was the end of the world or whatever, but like, it was a coordinated scamdemic. It was a coordinated thing to get you to take vaccines, and who knows what are in those vaccines. And it worked because everybody was like, trust the science, even if it's just Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. You got to be discerning, folks. I know people love science and academics, and yes, science has given us many things, but it's also given people like this, people with a lot of resources and power, the ability to really mess with people. So, to really pull the wool over people's eyes, to really control the entire media apparatus, to really control our entire political apparatus, to control the entire scientific community, so that they can, tell you that glyphosate is a nationally protected resource that we must use for crops. That's trust the science, right? So when Monsanto is telling you that it's a legally protected product, and they've deemed it so because it's super safe. Well, do you trust the science then? No, you don't. No, you don't. Any thinking person would go, nope. No, that sounds kind of fishy there, bro. If there's 58 vaccines on the children's vaccine schedule, that doesn't mean that they work very well, does it? Most of what those vaccines do is cause your child to, go suffer a host of maladies, from feeling kind of sick to, all out shutdown of function. Yeah, no. And you gotta you gotta be able to look at that with clear eyes. I love science when it's actually, when it's actually helping people and run by people who might actually want to see a good, compassionate outcome from the science. But like, I was thinking yesterday that it's hilarious to me. One of the most nefarious things going on right now, and especially in the health industry, but almost everywhere you look across the spectrum of like, I don't know, public outreach, I guess you would say, especially in the city of Los Angeles, everything is about equity and inclusion and, gender equity and racial equity, and like everything is all about like treating people fairly. But like the entire system is set up to absolutely screw the shit out of everybody, especially the poor, especially the minorities and and people who have people who are not in any kind of protected class. So it's kind of like brain breaking to me to see all this equity. Everything is equity everywhere you look. But that's not what the frick is about. Like, nothing is set up for equity. Nothing is set up for fairness. Where is the public free healthcare? And plus, you're giving, you're saying, oh, we want to give healthcare to the people that, had least access to it in the past. But what kind of healthcare are you giving them? Are you giving them free? How about some free vaccines? How about some trial drugs? How about some, whatever? How about locking you into a system that you can never escape? Which is the point. How, slowly killing you with whatever it is we slow drip you over the next few years. Oh, you need some high blood pressure medication. You need some. Well, oh, it turns out you're diabetic, or you're pre-diabetic, or you're, whatever. Your insulin levels are a little weird. We're going to put you on something. Okay. Maybe Alex Jones was right about being in prison. Blah, he had a point. RFK remove red food dye. Yeah. But, sure. I suppose we'll have to take those small wins. Oh, so here we go. This is from 2015. You can't see that as Bill Gates, but I think somebody's determined or discerned that this is Bill Gates. Please find a attached draft agenda for the meeting on preparing for pandemics as requested. Let's discuss the next steps. This is to Jeffrey Epstein. For example, how to officially involve the WHO and the ICRC, i.e. co-branding. Best regards. And I hope we can pull this off. Yeah, he also wanted to, excuse me, I'm sorry. He also wanted to get rid of, poor people. Here's another one. In correspondence between Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. Again, I don't know. They've discerned. Oh, here you go. Here's Bill Gates, CC Larry Cohen. He's just talking about Larry and I have been working on deliverables, etc. Two areas I'm interested in: domestic health and neurotech brain science. I propose these as deliverables to improve access and secure personal health data. White paper on consumer health expenditures in the USA. White paper or recommendations on neurotechnologies relate to chronic degenerative disease. White paper on neurotechnologies as weapons in national and intelligence and defense. What? Follow-up recommendations and or technical specifications for strain pandemic simulation. Wild. Here's Jill. Here's Jillian Michaels saying what we all knew, what everybody talked about during the pandemic, or at least people who were, actually looking at what was going on. Not everybody, but many people were covering this. Bill Gates invested $55 million in German BioNTech company before anyone heard anything about COVID. So they were already. There's Moderna getting mRNA funding and or patents pre-COVID pandemic, and then they're like, we're working at the speed of science to make a vaccine. They were already working on a vaccine for the strain of COVID that they came out of a wet market. I feel like it's fairly common knowledge now that this was a big ass hoax, even among, the general people who don't look too hard at the news or don't really like do any deep diving. I think there's a general understanding that, okay, not everything that went on there was above the board. If you're not in the know, I don't know.
Here's the receipt that most people never see. In the late summer of 2019, just months before any of us ever heard the word Wuhan, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation made a $55 million equity investment in a small German biotech company called BioNTech. Now, at the time, BioNTech wasn't even on the radar, right? But then the pandemic hits, the world shuts down. BioNTech partners with Pfizer to roll out the very first mRNA vaccine. Of course, the stock goes nuclear, climbing from $18 a share to over $400 a share. That's a 20x investment. Just that one investment took Gates $55 million to $1.1 billion. So ask yourself, what would a philanthropist do? Hold the stock, donate the shares, use the leverage to make the vaccine free and open to the world, but not Bill. Do you know any charity that operates like a hedge fund? It's insane.
There were a lot of those strategic investments that worked out really well for people during that time. Don't forget that Trump signed off on the Operation Warp Speed. He wasn't an outsider. He was in on it. Get your beautiful vaccines. We really did a bang up job. We did the best job. We made the best vaccines. Guys, if you like the show, if you want to see the show continue to be a show and you want to support the show, that would be really great. If you can do it, lots of ways to Bella. Lots of ways to support the show in the description box of Odyssey or YouTube. All the links are there: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Buy me a coffee, Ko-Fi. You can support at Patreon or Substack. But look at this. Now you understand why Charlie Kirk had to die. This was the direction he was leading America's youth. some of them, and they just couldn't let it happen. This was a poll he put up in June last year. Should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran? Look at the nose. I love these kind of votes. These kind of impromptu. They don't like these votes getting out there when they're so, tilted to one side. They're masters of trying to make things look like they're very hotly contested and close. There's a close division. There's a big division there's no division here. There's no division. Pretty much everybody is like hell to the no, to the no, no, no. 90% are like, nope. And whoever the 10% of the lunatics out there that think the U.S. should get involved in a war against Iran. But, but this reminds me of so many other polls that I've seen where they're like, I don't know, Bernie and Hillary, or if you put a poll up saying like, should healthcare be free for all Americans? I bet it's, probably more than 90% would be like, yep. I've got a lot of facial stuff going on because I'm making hot sauce with the chilies, yo. And it is a delicious and a spicy one. But I'm hoping to have it done. Hopefully they're like really close to done by the time I'm done with this show so that I can snarf it up. But this is how people feel. I bet if you put a poll up saying like, is what ICE is doing, something that you really want to see happening, or do you think is lawful? Do you think it's productive or helpful to the country? It's probably going to be like 10% no, or 10% right, no to the ICE, and the yes is going to be like, this is what I voted for. I am a dork. I'm sure there's people out there, but good Lord. Well, it's been a fairly depressing day of news, don't you think? But it wouldn't be Black Bear News if it wasn't good and depressing. What's up with you? Did I miss anything today, guys? So you guys want to tell me about something? We got about 5 minutes. If anybody wants to bring something to the table. Or just tell me something I didn't know. News stories I missed that I must absolutely see. I'm just happy that it's actually winter again. This is funny. Excuse me. RFK last month, I believe that glyphosate causes cancer. This is a month before Trump signs an executive order to increase production of glyphosate. We need more glyphosate. There was something, but I forgot. Oh, the price of coffee. Oh yeah, geez, tell me about it. The price of coffee is insane. Which is why I've been ordering mine like 6 bricks at a time, just so I can get. Actually, found a kind of a cheap and delicious brand. But I'm trying to stock up at least on that. Because if I don't have coffee, I don't have anything. I don't have energy. How would I even move if I didn't have coffee? I would not move. I would stay in bed until at least 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Lots of people on. Sorry, missed all these comments on Odyssey. There's a storm coming, says the kid talking to Sarah Connor. Millions did die of COVID, have long COVID. I mean, I'm not saying that COVID wasn't a thing that they created. It was not a thing that started in the wet market, but something that they created in the lab, probably to be a more severe form of flu. But the entire, operation of, close everything down, tell everybody they're going to die if they don't, take this vaccine. That was a, pretty healthy scam there. Hold on one second, guys. Woo. Now I'm going to have smoked hot sauce. It's going to be delicious. And that vaccine was not good. It was bad for a lot of people. It caused a lot of heart attacks. Caused children to have heart attacks. Caused a lot of arrhythmia. A lot of I know a lot of people that took the vaccine. Not all of them suffered stuff, but I heard from friends and family of plenty of people who did suffer some side effects. Chuck says, is still airborne, mutating, and causing clot related. Are you talking about the vaccine or are you talking about the COVID? The vaccine is much more linked to clot forming than the actual COVID is. But that's where it gets kind of screwed up in the understanding is that, well, there's really been no in-depth, no really good studies on like the difference between, there have been a few, mostly in Europe, but the effects on COVID of, from people that didn't get the jab and then people that got the jab but didn't get COVID, a lot of that, Jesus Christ, I'm having a hard time. A lot of that was getting mixed up and hard to differentiate. Okay, guys. I'm suffering like succotash. Appreciate you joining in. I won't make hot sauce the next time I do a show. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate you, and I will see you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. And thanks again, Kate, for the contribution from the I'm fine. Thanks for the contribution for the Loop show, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Until next time, beware the bear.